history is written based on some perspective, on some philosophy. This is, in a sense, necessary because, of course, what historians are doing is not simply stating a known narrative. What they're doing is taking scraps of information, sometimes random scraps of information from a long time ago, and piecing it together to tell a story. Now, this requires, by its very nature, having some sort of framework in which you put all these pieces together and you can tell what is going on. There have been other frameworks, for example, the great man theory of history, which is is still alive in many ways, which is that you talk about history in terms of great people and what they did. So what did a certain great emperor do, or what Mahatma Gandhi did, and so on. So then that becomes the basis on which the story is narrated. Now, of course, as a reaction to this great man theory of history, you have other forms of narratives which tend to emphasize a grand economic or technological or sociological trends that and factors that tend to drive history. And the most well-known example of that, of course, is Marxist history, where a form of dialectics drives history, historical materialism, and so then that becomes the driving force of history. But there too, there is a problem, because basically that form of thinking of history almost thinks of history as some sort of a Victorian steam engine which is running on a predetermined path. And that is one of the reasons, for example, that the Marxists claim to know the end of history and how it will play itself out. I, on the other hand, have a somewhat different perspective of history, which I've tried to apply in this book, which is derived from something called complex adaptive systems. Complex adaptive system framework is, of course, a part of chaos theory, and the basic idea is that world history plays itself out as a result of a large numbers of factors interacting, sometimes quite randomly. So there is great men, but there are not so great men and women. There are ecological factors, there's climate change, there's migrations, there are also great economic or technological changes, but also pure chance very often plays a role in how things turn out. And so at every point in time, history can go in multiple directions. And one of the interesting things that comes out of this is that, of course, history is full of unintended consequences. And I hope one of the lessons of my book is that great men trying to do great things will be somewhat less sure of what they end up doing.